First of all, everybody, well done for coming out today. I'm so proud to be Kasech Rayawayti with every single one of you. Who's a proud Kasech Rayawayti out there? Let me hear you. Who's a proud Kasech Rayawayti? We are the Tigray women of Australia. All right. I'm going to dedicate this speech, and everybody, I'm sorry for my tears because I'm just speaking on behalf of you. I dedicate this speech to our beautiful girl Mona Lisa, a community member, and all of the other young and old women who are being tortured by rape. As an Australian, I live with freedom. As an Australian, I never have to fear that my government will turn on me. As a new Australian, I never have to fear and live with the torturous memories of my government waging war on my own people. As an Australian, I have the privilege of being able to live in safety, take my children to school, and pick them up every afternoon. As an Australian, I have the ability to know with confidence that I will not be raped by invading forces. As an Australian, I am here today to speak on behalf of the Tigray Australian community on November 4th, Australian government. Abiy Ahmed Ali, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, declared war on its own people in the Tigray regional state, on our people. Abiy Ahmed Ali invited the neighbouring Eritrean troops and Amhara militia to wage war against the people of Tigray. Mass bombings, murders, disembowelments, disfigurements, torture, and rape has been pushed upon the people and women of Tigray. Girls as young as 4 and women as old as 80 have been violently held down and shot at whilst being sexually abused by the invading forces. Nuns have been raped and assaulted, priests and monks tortured. Ancient mosques, churches, historical sites, hospitals and educational facilities have been pillaged and looted by the invading forces. As a proud member of the Tigray Australian community, through the birth of my 2 children, which you all know, I am here today to ask the Australian government to pay special attention to the situation in Tigray. As a member of the UN and a proud nation of safety and security and protector of human rights, the Australian government needs to address the atrocities happening inside of Tigray. As a democratic nation and one that allows for self-determination and people to vote in their governments, the Australian government should be demanding that democracy is returned to Ethiopia. Abiy Ahmed Ali has dismantled the constitution. He has denied the people their ability to vote and has waged war against the people of Tigray because they dared to hold their regional elections. As an upstanding and most forward-thinking country, Australia, government, you need to address the concerns of the people of Tigray. Furthermore, the Australian government needs to address the concerns of the Oromo community within Tigray. Abiy Ahmed Ali has committed human rights violations and abuses throughout the entire country since his takeover in 2018. As an Australian, I have the ability and the right to vote for who I choose. The people of Tigray dared to exercise their rights in September 2020. Abiy Ahmed Ali came to power promising democracy and reforms to the former EPRDF coalition and governance practices. He reneged on those promises and he has put the country backwards more than 40 years. He has denied voters' rights by holding off elections and political freedoms and what he once promised. However, the Tigray leadership, let me hear you say, the Tigray leadership, the TPLF held on to their promise in 2018. They held the agreement and gave every person in Tigray full democratic rights. We want our full democratic rights. We had them, and Abiy Ahmed Ali punished us for them. It is said that the atrocities of the Derg era cannot be met and cannot be compared to what is happening now. Many members of the Ethiopian Australian community, many of you out there today, had to live through the atrocities of the Red Terror and the Derg organisation. However, witnessing what is happening in Tigray now has been described as 10 times worse. The Australian government needs to demand that full humanitarian access. What do we need? Full humanitarian access is given to Tigray. The Australian government needs to demand that the international investigations take place inside the border of Tigray. The Australian government needs to demand that access to journalism and free press is allowed inside Tigray and wider Ethiopia. The Australian government needs to address the concerns of Tigrayans living outside of Tigray, as they are faced with gross human rights violations and have been disconnected. They have been disconnected from the world as we know it. The Australian government has the ability to call upon the Red Cross to investigate the imprisonment of army officials of Tigrayan backgrounds. Many of you may have families stuck in those camps just because they are Tigrayan. The Australian government has the ability to address the concerns of political prisoners unjustly arrested and held without trial. Many of them our Tigrayan family. There is so much that the Australian government as a world leader and progressive thinking nation can do to help the people of Tigray, the people of Oromia and all other nations and nationalities such as the Benshangul Gumas and Wolaitan people who are being targeted, murdered in thousands since Abiy Ahmed Ali has arrived. Xenophobia is something that plagues the people of Ethiopia. The current ruling elite has set a narrative that only one tribe's identity is required inside the borders of Ethiopia. This xenophobia has formed opinions in their wider community that massacre, rape, extortion, looting are all acceptable methods of warfare. With the assistance of the disgusting Eritrean long-living dictator Isaias Afwerki, the Ethiopian government has decimated our lands in Tigray. The Australian government needs to address these concerns. The Australian government needs to demand that Eritrean military remove their forces from Tigray. The Australian government needs to demand that Amhara state militia return to their homes and stop killing their regional brothers and sisters. The Australian government needs to address the people of Tigray and their demands to have freedom and peace restored to their state. On behalf of the Tigrayan community of Australia, we demand, let me hear you, we demand that the Australian government listen to our cries and work with our pleas to address the concerns within Tigray for all those oppressed by the regimes, by the torturous Abiy Ahmed Ali and the psychopathic Isaias Afwerki. As the women of Australia are calling for enough is enough. The women of Australia, everybody out there on the street, you are calling for enough is enough of systemic rape by people in power. It is in our news currently. We, the Australian Tigrayan Women's Association, support all calls to end rape. The women and children of Tigray have faced atrocious, horrible crimes committed by those in power in the last 3 months. The stories coming out of rape survivors in Tigray and threats of purposefully infecting our women with HIV has demoralized the nature of humanity. As women, we strongly stand against rape of any person, of any nation, of any nationality, any ethnicity, any religion. I want you all to call out with me. Enough is enough! Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
As we stand together as females, mothers, daughters, sisters, nieces, aunts and humans. We offer our support to those fighting against rape and ask that as Australians, everybody out there, you stand with us, stand by our women who are suffering in silence inside the borders of Tigray. Enough is enough!
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 Stop raping our women!
Stop raping our women!
Stop raping our women!
Stop raping our women!
Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
All right, thank you all.